So I recently just started watching the TV show Salem, and I binged it in literally about 3 days. I had seen it a few years back. It was on TV from like the 2014 to 17, and I remember hearing about it. And so when I clicked into Hulu the other day, it said, "Hey, you might like this," and boy, was that a recommendation that was correct. Okay, so right off the bat, I was into it because immediately you see that they use a lot of the names of people that were actually in Salem in the 1600s around the witch trials. But of course, they kind of give their own little flair and creative spin to it. So I really appreciated the kind of historical reference to that. So that was really cool because even the house that Mary Sibley lives in looks a lot like the witch house, for those of you that have been to Salem and know. So, or if you've seen it, because the witch house is actually one of the more photographed locations in Salem. So I really appreciated the historical references. But what I think really hooked me into this show, outside of the amazing writing and the fabulous execution from the actors, is the character development and the fact that it kept me guessing. And it's not every day that I can find a series in entirety, 3 seasons specifically for this one, that literally kept me on the edge of my seat thinking what is going to happen next. And there's a lot of layers and levels and connections, and it was marvelous. Like, very gritty, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe not the show you want to watch while you're eating. But it had some really interesting points to it. And like, Marilyn Manson was in the last like few episodes, and while his scenes were brief, they were enjoyable to me. Like, they were kind of funny in like the best way. And Shane West is in this from I know him, specifically me, I know him from Nikita. He played Michael. I loved that show. And Lucy Lawless, she's in this too, starting on season 2. And I gotta tell you guys, that woman killed it. She owned that role. I was mesmerized by her role in this. And just, there were so many that's the other thing, the character development on this show was wild, because it was like 180 for a few of them from the beginning to the end. In particular, Anne. Oh my God. I would have loved to have seen her continue her character development, but seriously, how far she came from beginning to the end was just mind blowing. And that's the other thing that really got me about this show, because you really, at least in my experience, I was torn on who to root for. I was like, oh my God, like, I know you're bad, but like, I'm not sure who I want to win here. And I think that's what was so cool about it, because most shows and movies, etc., they have a clear set bad guy, but there were so many angles and connections and layers and levels to these characters. It was just like, oh my God, it was almost like art imitating life, in the fact that there's not always a set answer. There's not always a black and white. There is a lot of gray here. And other times there is black and white. There is, straight, bad, good, whatever. But this show really hooked me and intrigued me, and it was just very much into it. And I loved how these characters played their roles. They did it so well. And I just have to say bravo to everyone involved. And I'm just amazed that it didn't get picked up for another season. I mean, probably because, it was on WGN, which a lot of people weren't. I don't think all cable providers, provided that for a while. I'm not really sure, but I would love to see another network think about rebooting this. But you would have to bring back all the same people, because without sounding cliche, very much a certain formula magic to this that they just knocked out of the park. So I just had to say bravo to those of you who know it. You know what I'm talking about. Like, oh my God, you felt so bad for Isaac. Ugh. Isaac was a survivor though. And Cotton, I didn't care for him. But then you start to feel like, whoa, lots of changes with these characters, lots of layers. And I would have liked to have seen Anne continue her character development, but alas, that is not the case. But I will say, even though while it ends open-ended, it ends, wrapped up enough so it's like, okay, I can live with this result. But it would be great if they could bring them all back and do it again. Do another season. I'd vote for that. That's it for me, guys. If you enjoyed, feel free to like and subscribe. Until next time.